Hi guys, it's Tamara. I'm back with another video today, and I wanted to start off our full week talking about relationships and personality traits by also talking about the road to sociopathy. So today's topic is going to be about the ABC process that is inherent in situations where there's untreated mental health, there's behavioral problems, and there's long-standing or pervasive personality traits that can create a really big problem if left untreated. Thank you so much, guys, for being with me today on my channel. For those of you who are already and have been subscribed, thank you so much for coming back. And for those who are not subscribed, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button over here, so then that way you can stick around with us, make suggestions on videos, comment, ask questions, and explore this whole, broad field of mental health, right? There's so much in this field that it's really hard to keep up with. But I will say, just to kind of keep us focused a little bit, I am an internationally certified trauma therapist, and what that means is I focus and specialize on, mental health issues, but I'm also internationally certified in specific clinical trauma. And so everything that goes on this channel, it has a foundation of trauma-informed care. So I wasn't sure if I made that clear in my series on trauma last month. So I wanted to make sure that I got that in there today. So the benefits for you today is that you are going to be able to learn about the ABC, I call it the ABC process, to the road to sociopathy if symptoms are left untreated. Let's just go ahead and jump right on in, all right? So I'm going to give you a step-by-step process, and I'm not always able to help people understand that this is the actual process to the road to sociopathy, because I think a lot of people get defensive when it comes to what I'm going to talk about today. So let's start with ADHD. ADHD is known as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. A lot of people use ADHD or ADD to describe a series of symptoms that include hyperactivity or an inability to kind of relax and remain calm, restlessness, impulsivity in thought, in emotion, and in behavior, poor decision-making abilities, lack of insight or personal insight, lack of awareness of how they're affecting the world outside of them. Symptoms of ADHD also includes lack of a sense of direction, right? So you're kind of like scattered and disorganized and all over the place, whether that's in your thinking, your behavior, or actually in your life, right? Everything is scattered. I'm sure you've heard some people say, okay, I know my room and my desk is messy, but it's my organized mess, right? I can pinpoint where things are, even though everything is thrown all over the place. I'm sure you've heard that before. We also have in ADHD or ADD, we kind of have a certain level of immaturity, right? Because individuals with ADHD struggle with two very important things, and that's patience or a long attention span and the ability to kind of keep oneself structured and focused and directional. And unfortunately, there's impulsivity and poor decision-making and hyperactivity that can make the individual seem a lot more immature than they should be. So that is ADHD in a nutshell. Treatment for ADHD is kind of complicated because we have, medications like Ritalin and Adderall, but some individuals with ADHD also suffer from anxiety, and so that makes it kind of complicated when trying to identify a diagnosis, right? Is this ADHD or is this anxiety, or is it those two things combined, which is what we call comorbidity, okay? We call it comorbidity because there's two things happening at the same time and we can't tease apart what's going on. So I think what I want you to kind of keep in mind in this video is that ADHD is treatable, but if it's not treated with the appropriate medication, the appropriate therapy, and for some adults, life coaching, as well as, self-care techniques and tools, then, it's going to be really difficult for the symptoms to become less extreme or minimized. And so therefore the behaviors begin to slide into a new diagnosis, primarily for adolescents, known as oppositional defiant disorder. All right. Oppositional defiant disorder, ODD, is characterized by deliberate disregard for the rights, the feelings, the thoughts, the behaviors, the space of others. Okay. I had a mother come to me last year, and she says, my kid has ADHD and ODD. They absolutely have no regard for my space. And that was the key in that particular situation, that they had absolutely no regard, right? There was a lack of empathy. There was kind of like this cold callousness to the feelings and thoughts of others. It was kind of, this kid kind of had the theory going that, the world is all about me. And so because of that, I'm not going to care what I do to you. I don't care how you feel. I don't care what you think. I really like this bad attention, right? I like getting in trouble because it's attention nonetheless, positive or negative. In addition to that, I enjoy being deliberately negative. And so individuals who have oppositional defiant disorder or traits of ODD, there is a deliberate attempting to step on your toes. That's how they operate. These kind of kids get pleasure, and these kind of adolescents and adults get pleasure out of disregarding other people. They get pleasure out of agitating and frustrating other people. So when parents or husbands or wives or, children, say things like, you really are getting on my nerves, or they snap and start screaming and cursing at the person, think of it this way. It doesn't really faze them because they kind of enjoy that. That's what they want. Okay. How do you treat ODD? Well, medication to kind of decrease the impulsivity and the poor decision making. But therapy is the number one choice of treatment in individuals who have ODD, because they need to recognize that they are harming themselves ultimately by bothering people and agitating them and disregarding them deliberately in the short term. So their short-term behavior is creating a long-term problem. And so therapy is there to kind of help them change the way that they think and see things, okay? So what happens if ODD is not treated? Well, let's bump up to the next diagnosis. And that diagnosis is conduct disorder. Conduct disorder, or CD as it's known as, is basically a severe version of ADHD and ODD put together, right? So conduct disorder is kind of like that stage where, you're kind of a criminal at this point. You don't regard other people. You don't have empathy. You don't have the capacity to really think about what you're doing because you're impulsive and inattentive. You totally gain pleasure and stimulation, right? Mental and emotional stimulation from doing things to other people and causing them pain. Now you're probably dissecting animals in your backyard, killing pets and small animals, setting fires, which is known as pyromania. It's this obsession with fire and the way it looks and the way it smells and, all of that, the intensity of it. You're probably lacking so much empathy that you could become a serial killer if things don't calm down at some point, right? So conduct disorder really is that disorder where you're at the point of no return if you don't get immediate intervention. This is where we see adolescent boys engaging in sexual assault, child molestation, rape, drug dealing, truancy, delinquency, all of that kind of stuff, right? Stealing and burglaries and being on house arrest and probation. And that's conduct disorder. Now, when an adult doesn't get help for, when an adolescent doesn't get help, when an adolescent doesn't get help for conduct disorder, then they go another step and it becomes sociopathy. And then sociopathy by the age of 18 and up really entails manipulating other people, playing the part on a stage to get what you want, possibly engaging in rape, doing things like sexual assault, or inappropriate comments and kind of sexually harassing women on the job. This kind of individual may even learn how to steal money and hide money. They're very narcissistic. They desire to be in a place of authority and power. They may start to domestically abuse their spouse, right? They're abusing their children. They may be abusing drugs. So, this kind of stuff, gets really, really serious throughout the lifespan if it's not treated. So let's go back and look at this. So we have ADHD or ADD. If it's not treated appropriately, it can then exacerbate itself into ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. And if that's not treated, it can slide up into conduct disorder. And if that is not treated, then we're talking about possible sociopathy in adulthood. Now, you're probably wondering, how do you treat conduct disorder and sociopathy? You can't. That's the sad part. You can't. All you can do is give somebody medication to decrease the impulsivity and maybe some of the depression and anxiety that they have. But you really do have to, deal with this person from a therapeutic and legal perspective. Sometimes counseling is totally inappropriate to prescribe to somebody who has conduct disorder or sociopathy, right? A narcissist and a psychopath, you cannot counsel them because all they do is give you what you want to hear. They're superficial, they're shallow, right? They're not emotional, they're not empathetic. So it really is hard to medicate and do counseling with these individuals. These are the kind of individuals, conduct disorder, sociopathy, narcissism, psychopaths, those categories really do end up getting in trouble with the law if they're not very bright. And, they go on to be politicians, they go on to be presidents, they go on to do things that, can affect large masses of people. And so it's scary, to say the least, right? So this is the road to sociopathy. This is how it goes, and this is how it looks. Now, because of genetics, because of the influence of environment, and because of, families that understand that treatment is helpful, this road can be made short, right? This road traveled can be, cut off for some individuals because they're getting treatment. They have a loving family, right? They're being held accountable. But in families or relationships where that's not happening, the road is a dark and scary one. I'm going to put a video in the description box below on Ted Bundy. And I want you to kind of, and Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm going to put a video in the description box for both of those individuals so that you can kind of see the road and what that looks like. It's almost predictable for those of us who study this kind of stuff. It's very scary. Thank you so much, guys, for being with me in this video today. I encourage you to give it a thumbs up if it was helpful to you. And I apologize for the dinging in the background. I'm actually using my phone in today's video. My camera's not acting right. So there's it's blowing up. So I apologize for that. Welcome your comments. Please remember to like, share, and comment if this was helpful to you. Bye-bye.